Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and I want to talk about Hugh Grant's 2024 A24 film Heretic, which I consider to be a Dungeons and Dragons film because it uses the power of Forge Fitzwilliam, a Dungeons and Dragons villain that was hatched from Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, and literally uses the acting power of Hugh Grant to recraft a new horrible villain in the same mold as forged from the same material as Forge Fitzwilliam. Very, very interesting. And what I want to talk today about is Hugh Grant's messages, multiple messages. And today we're just going to talk about one of those messages that Hugh Grant uses to communicate to dungeon masters and dragon masters in the A24 horror film Heretic, right? And specifically today I want to talk about iteration. So Hugh Grant went and so yeah, the Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves came out in 2023. Okay, and Hugh Grant did an unbelievable job in that film. But in order to play that character, he had to understand Dungeons and Dragons. So he was exposed to Gary Gygax's Legacy, and he was exposed to every single edition of Dungeons and Dragons, right? And in this film, Heretic, he talks about iteration, right? First, he talks about iteration from the perspective of religions, right? And he talks about the original Judaism, the follow up, my favorite, the one true religion, Christianity, and then Islam, right? And he talks about them as iterations, right? Iterations on the theme, right? And actually, I do think he's correct that Judaism was correct until Jesus was born. Once Jesus was born, Judaism was Christianity arrived and replaced Judaism. Judaism is a false religion today. It's not going to get you to heaven, right? Christianity will, and then Islam was a bad copy, right? Like just like was an iteration, but it was a failed iteration. Right? So, but what's really interesting is then he does the same thing with Monopoly, right? And talks about the iterations of Monopoly. How there was a game that preceded Monopoly that sold virtually no copies, and then Monopoly kind of copied it whole cloth, right? And then Monopoly has been iterated more than any other board game ever, right? Which is true, right? So he talks about iteration, but what I think he's really talking about, right, is iteration from a perspective of addition, right? So we now, and I think this movie was carefully timed, right, so that Hugh Grant could specifically talk about Dungeons and Dragons VE, our D&D now, right, the 2024 core rule books. So we have really had edition wars are quite real. We've had brutal knockdown, drag out virtual fights over edition wars, and they've had real casualties, very real cultural casualties, and there's been a real cost to the edition wars, right? But now with Dungeons and Dragons VE, the newest edition, the newest iteration, actually the newest version, not a new edition, right? Going from 5th edition to V edition, right? Not a new edition, going from 5e to VE, right? Roman numeral V, right? We have the first time where we're getting a completely new set of PHBs, DMGs, and monster manuals, and Heretic is perfectly positioned to say we really shouldn't fight over editions, right? With Monopoly, what edition of Monopoly should you play? You should play what you can buy today, right? You should play Monopoly that you could pull off the shelf at Target today. You shouldn't go buy an old copy. And I think that is Hugh Grant's message on the iteration part of the movie. Heretic talks a lot about iteration. It's a major theme in the film. And I really think it was purposely put there, right, by Hugh Grant specifically to send this message to tell Dungeon Masters and Dragon Masters, if you care about Dungeons & Dragons, play Dungeons & Dragons V, and always play the current edition. Don't fight, don't go back, don't spend resources getting these older editions. Play the now edition. I think that's Hugh Grant's message in the 2024 A24 movie Heretic, in my humble opinion. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion, nothing more, absolutely nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic, please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.